Hello, we are live from London and I am joined by Joern, the VP of Research at LILT, and has done some work on multilingual benchmark. Joern, I would love to learn a bit more about your work.
We've recently become interested in multilingual benchmarking for state-of-the-art AI. The reason being, LILT's mission has always been to make the web multilingual. And with the recent progress of AI, that these days that means making AI multilingual, right? And that's why we've been looking into that.
So you've released a research paper on the GAIA benchmark back in April. What were the main findings of this research, and if you can dig slightly onto the methodology applied?
So the GAIA benchmark was the first one that we localized. There is an English benchmark, and there was also a multilingual benchmark already, which was part of the MAPS paper. The reason why we decided to audit this original translation was that we found that there were some issues with the translation, which inflated the gap that the results showed as a capability gap between English and non-English languages. And so we really wanted to find out whether or not those results hold once we fix the benchmark and see if there really is a capability gap. So that's what we did. We have a research team that's experienced in training models. We have a production team that knows how to manage a linguist workforce. And what we found out is that our initial intuition was right. The capability gap was very much inflated in the original results. Throughout different languages, we saw increased performance or solve rates for the tasks between 15 and 30 percentage points. But it didn't entirely close the gap. There was still between 10 and 20% of a capability gap left, which encourages to keep doing more and digging how we can improve multilingual models.
Nice. And so can you maybe share a concrete application on where that is useful to close that gap for some maybe industry use cases or some companies?
One of the benchmarks that we're working on right now is TauBench, which is simulating a customer support agent, right? And that is one of a very easy to understand and very common use case for AI if for companies that have customers all over the world. And these customers need support, for example, on rebooking an airline flight or solving a connectivity issue with their phone. If there's an agent that can solve that task for them without the necessity to have a human support agent, that is a great advantage for the company.
Nice. So you mentioned there were still some gaps to close. What are the current pitfalls and what are you going to research next in order to try and close that gap?
Yeah, so in the GAIA benchmark, what we found is that you have to, when you translate or create a benchmark to a different language and also a different culture, first of all, you have to view every task holistically. Like what we found that if you use a too much automated workflow to generate a multilingual benchmark, what happens is that even if the task description is being translated correctly and the answer is being translated correctly, the gold answer that defines whether or not an agent is right, at the end of the day, or after that transcreation, that answer may not still be the correct answer for the translated question. And in other cases, we found, for example, that we need a cultural adaptation, right? If a task asks an agent to solve a problem about driving from Florida-to-Maine in the US and is very much based on US-centric measurements, imperial system, and also on their culture and their laws, then just translating that task doesn't really give us a good idea of whether that model would perform well in South Korea, for example.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.